Hey guys, Papercut here with another video. This time I'm talking about what it took to reach Conqueror 3. If you didn't know, last season at the very end, I reached the top rank you can reach in AoE 4, which is Conqueror 3, which felt amazing. I've been working since I first started playing the game to reach that level, and I've been reflecting on what it took for me to get to that, because I think people are often really interested in the learning process and the steps it took to reach the next level. I already made a video like this before where I just gave some general advice on climbing the ladder. I still hold to that. This is kind of almost like an extension of that video with some added on thoughts, especially when it starts to getting to how do you really get better at a higher league, higher level. So for a long time, I was kind of stuck at like the high diamond Conqueror level. I maybe touched Conqueror 2, but I would mostly stay there. And I think what finally got me over that hump are a few things. When I think about what it took, the first thing I think about is decision making. The game at the Conqueror and above level is so much based on your in the moment reaction and decision making. When you scout something or see your opponent do something, it's about reading and reacting correctly, and a wrong decision at a critical time can sink a game. And it's very hard to come back from that at a Conqueror level. I had to put in a lot of time after each game going back over and asking myself, where did I make a big decision? Where did it work? Did it not? Did I execute it correctly? Was it just not the right decision, and why? Cataloging that and considering next time I'm in a similar situation, what to try next time. And I think, one, watching a replay is a skill. I do have a video on how to watch a replay, but I think it's also being clear when you're making a decision in the moment. I think actually streaming has helped me a little bit in that, because I will often explain what I'm doing while I'm playing, and that helps me identify when did I make a decision? Like, when did I actually say, I see this, I'm doing this? Go back and evaluate that moment. Second is reps. A thing that I hear a lot from high Conqueror 3 players, or like the pros, is that anyone can hit Conqueror, which isn't wrong, but what they're often experiencing is what I call skill blindness, where when I was a teacher, I learned quickly how if someone is really good at something and then they're teaching it, they're often a bad teacher at first. This is because they're so knowledgeable, they have forgotten the basic steps of what it took to understand a subject. And their minds do it subconsciously. So when they're teaching somebody, they're teaching them too many steps ahead, and that person doesn't understand what's happening. And so what you have to do is actually go back and break down what's the smallest steps you had to do to understand something and then teach it. So to a Conqueror 3, not even a Conqueror 3, like a pro player, they watch someone who's playing, who's a Conqueror 1, and they'll go, well, that person's awful. Because compared to them, they're making so many mistakes that they would never make anymore. And they go, if that person can be Conqueror, then anyone below them can. But the gap is massive, and what they're not considering is everything it takes to get to that moment. And so when people hear that, I think they get frustrated, and they're like, if anyone can hit Conqueror, why am I not hitting Conqueror? I think the biggest thing is you have to put in the game reps. There's so much to practice in the game. There's so much to get better at. It's like working a muscle. It's like anything you want to learn how to do. It just takes a lot of attempts and a lot of losing attempts to get there. When I often coach people who are gold or silver, they have like 4 to 6 games a week, because they're normal people with jobs and lives, and they can't play that much. And they've been gold for a long time. This makes sense. If the average player is also playing around 4 to 6 games a week, then you're all growing at the same rate generally. What it actually takes to get better and to kind of beat the curve, the average gold player, is you have to play a lot more often. Consider me, I have played around 5 to 6 games a night for multiple seasons in a row. Looking at my AoE 4 profile, I can tell when I reached a new skill ceiling, because it's often the season I played way more games than other seasons. It just requires a lot of practice. Season 8, last season, I finally hit Conqueror 3, and that was the season I played the most games by far. And with all those reps, really helped me practice the things I was struggling with, get better and improve, and then reach that next level. And so I don't think it's a coincidence. You just need a lot of reps. If you really want to climb, and that is your goal, it requires more volume. There will be a lot of losses there, but you have to do it to improve. And if you think about how any skill is learned, it requires practice. For example, my all-time win percentage over 2,166 ranked games is 50.6%. Barely above even. That's a lot of losses, and that's a lot of games, but it's what it takes if your goal is to truly reach a level of Conqueror or above. The next thing is Civ and situational knowledge. You can get to Conqueror 3 playing one Civ. Hell, you could get to Conqueror 3 playing one Civ and one strat. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to reach Conqueror 3 playing a variety of Civs, because I felt like that really meant I had mastered the game. Is still rough, because I don't think I've mastered the game by any stretch, but a strong understanding of the game, because I know all these civs. I thought it would actually make it easier knowing all these different civs. So as you get to the upper levels of Conqueror, the knowledge of a civ and the situation becomes important to winning. The reps really come into play here. With the map variety and the civ variety, and considering unique matchups for each civ, there's a lot to learn. You have a lot to experience, catalog it, and then apply it. You also have to consider that each civ you play, there's 15 matchups you have to understand and how to respond to, along with how the maps might affect that matchup. That means there's something you might struggle against, then you won't see it for like 10 more games, so you have to keep some sort of catalog to help. My learning really took off when I started doing focus weeks and a learning journal. So I would take a week and focus on one civ. During that time, I kept a running journal of each matchup, what I tried, what worked, what didn't work, and my notes about it. So I wasn't forgetting it, I was really thinking about what occurred in my game. This allowed me to really dig into my civ, break it down, learn how it acts in different situations, try all its strats. If I see a fast castle, how does my civ react to that best? If I want a 2TC, what situation is going to do that? And really own the losses because I'm trying things and figuring out what makes that civ work. This also increased my likelihood that I ran into multiple tough situations, so I would get that practice in those situations. A good example of this is when I was focused on Byzantine. I could not beat English, but luckily I got multiple reps against them until I finally found what worked for me against English. After a focus week, I would then do a variety week where I would play games of all my civs, including my new one I just learned, to get the ability to switch and maintain my level of play between civs. Then I'll do another focus week. This standardization of my learning made me pick up and apply this stuff way faster, and made my learning faster as I picked up civs because I could apply the things I learned and catalog between my civs to each one as I learned them. It also made it so that when I played against civs I focused on, I feel like I really knew how to counter them. So while this process was slow at first, it got faster and faster. The effects of that is that the less things you have to think about in the game, the more the next level stuff you can do. So if I don't have to think about if I see a civ do this, I should do this, then I can think about the next thing more closely. What often slows down people in lower ranks is that they have to think about everything in the game so specifically. What you notice about higher level players is they've played the game so much they don't have to think about a lot of stuff. They can just make decisions and then put their thought into a more important thing. So that's, once again, where it all kind of goes back to reps. Seeing the situations and practicing it, but then also having the intention to think about, this happened, I tried this, it didn't work, so what should I do next time? Catalog that, make that become more muscle memory. So that sounds pretty straightforward, but that's what I found worked for me, and that's what finally allowed me to break the ceiling from my high diamond Conqueror to actually reaching a Conqueror 3. Now, what's next is that I got into Conqueror 3, and then I immediately got paired against a top 25 player, and I got beat really bad. So the thing to understand is that those who are like top 50 are their own tier. It's a Conqueror 4. So I feel like I still have a lot to strive for and improve to. I'm also very realistic. I'm a father in my 30s. I'm under no illusion I could ever be like top 50 consistently. It takes so much time and effort. I just don't have that like other players. But I think it's a worthy goal to push for. So expect me to still keep streaming, coaching, making videos on AoE4, and just enjoying the process as it happens. So thank you everyone who's been watching and enjoying my content, and good luck on your games as well.